All right, well, first they tackled global terrorism, and now for the second part of Liz's interview with former British Prime Minister Tony Blair, where she questions him about the state of the global economy.
Mario Draghi of the ECB meets tomorrow. Should he, from your perspective, institute a big stimulus package?
Yes, but I think quantitative easing on its own is not going to do the trick in Europe. I think what Europe requires is also profound structural reform. I think we've got to also make sure that the actions we're taking, for example, on the financial sector, are not going against the recovery of the European economy. And look, the truth of the matter is in Europe, there is a deal to be done, but it's a deal where you stimulate the economy in return for genuine fundamental structural reform. And the problem with the single currency is not complicated, it's simple. It's the reason why the UK stayed out in the end. It's that when you put a whole lot of countries together in a single currency zone, really motivated by a political idea of unity, you've got to make sure the economics ties up with that.
And they are all different, aren't they? I mean,
right.
To this day, are you happy the UK never became a part of the Eurozone?
Yes, because the economics for us wasn't right. It's really important to realise, politically, I was always in favour of Britain coming into the full European family, but the problem with the single currency is and always has been that it's a political idea expressed in economics.
The Swiss National Bank certainly shocked the world last week when it stopped capping its currency. Does this signal, in a way, the beginning of the end of the euro?
I don't think so, no, because I think the political weight behind the euro is so immense. I mean, I think we're going to have to watch very carefully what happens in Greece over the next days, because if a new government comes to power in Greece, there's obviously going to be certain issues there, let's say there, that have got to be discussed between the European leadership and Greece.
But the Eurozone lives, in your opinion?
I think, you see, there is such huge political support. There's the support of the European Central Bank, and any country that exits the euro has got to weigh the costs of exit. Right. So whether you're going to join or not is one issue. No. But once you've joined, exiting, is going to be very, very painful.
President Obama gave his State of the Union address last night. He outlined some ideas about taxing the upper tier, and he believes that that is the way to bridge the gap between the wealthy and the middle class, because right now there's a significant hole there. Do you think that's the right way to go?
I always say, I'll leave your politics to you guys. Okay, so I'm not getting into that. But look, you have to say, to be fair about it, that the American economy is one of the few bright spots in the world. Now, I think what's interesting about America is the intrinsic resilience of its economy is something, frankly, we could learn from in Europe, because there's no reason why we can't replicate some of what America does around technology, startups, actually energy.
And finally, the number one thing you'd love to see tackled here at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, because they're talking about a whole bunch of things. It's Ebola, it's global change, climate change, it's of course terrorism, but what's the number one thing you think they should tackle here at WEF?
I mean, personally right now for Europe, I think the number one thing is how do we get our economy moving, and how do we escape what is otherwise the potential for a kind of secular stagnation, which would be a disaster politically. Because, by the way, on the rise all over Europe are some pretty ugly political forces. So, unless you get the economy moving and people feel a connection and some prospects for the future, in the end you put a big strain on your politics. So that's, I think, the number one issue for us here.
That's great stuff. Thank you, Liz.